Hey, I'm RC and this is the episode 17 about creating a game in HTML5. So in this video we are going to do something very important. We are going to add images to our game. So right now everything is rectangles, but it will soon be nice little images. Okay, so by adding images to our project, it makes it a bit harder for me to share it because I cannot simply put the code in a pastebin, it will not work. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to upload all the code and the resource on my personal website at rainingchain.com/tutorial/html5. The link will be in the description. You can also take a look while you're there at Raining Chain, so the HTML5 open source MMORPG I'm currently making. So the first thing we are going to do is to split our code into multiple files because right now the file is kind of getting big, so it would be better to split it. So we will split it in two different files. There will be the general logic in the index.html file, and there will be everything related with the entities in the entity file. So everything related with the entities is that part right there. So So player, upgrade, bullets, stuff like that. So let's create a new file, save it. We will call it entities.js. It's important to put the .js because this is only code. There is no HTML inside it. So let's just save. Okay, so once we have done that, we need to actually tell the browser that our project has multiple files. And to do that, we will need to use that line of code. So it's script, and then we will need to specify the source, so where to find the files. In our case it's entities.js, and then we will need to put that line of code. I will put that in the description if you want to take a look. It's kind of simple. So by putting that, what it will do is that it will search for entities, it will take the content and it's going to put it into those two brackets. So this is exactly the equivalent of that. And you need to make sure that this part can be loaded. This part will be loaded before that part. So if you try to access int, for example, in the entity file, it will not work because int is only going to be declared after the script is loaded. So that's something to keep in mind. You could also put the script at the bottom. This would also work. So in that case, entities will be able to use all the function there. But for example, right here we use player. So if we put it at the bottom, it will not work because player is only defined at the bottom. So in our case, we want it to be on the top. Okay, so now if we check it out, let's refresh. As you can see, the game is still working as usual. So that's perfect. Now, normally in a project, you don't want all your script file to be in the same level, and you will eventually have images, so it will get a little bit messy. So a structure I recommend you is to have a folder called JS, and all the JS file wouldn't be, all the code file will be in the JS folder, and there will also be a image folder, and all the images will be there. The index.html is on the top level, so it looks something like this. So HTML, JavaScript, and then images. So what we did right there changed the path to the file. So if we keep this line, it will not work because entities no longer exist. It's JS/entities. So it goes inside the JS folder and then search for the entities script. And with that logic, you can load as many files as you want. You can simply put that and have, let's say, a file called, I don't know, monsters, and it would actually work. Okay, so now what we are going to do is to add images to the game. So I've put a bunch of images in our project, so in the image folder, so bullet, enemy, player, upgrade, and map. The map, I will not cover that in this video, but in the next video we are going to cover that. So yeah, let's get started. So one very important thing to understand when working with images in JavaScript is that it must be done in two different steps. There's the step one, which is loading the image in the memory. You only want to call that once, otherwise your application will be kind of slow. And then there's the step two, which is displaying the image using the loaded image in the memory, and that you can call it multiple times as many times as you want. So in order to do this step 1, what we are going to do is create a variable that will hold the value of our image. First we need to create an empty image, and then we can specify tell the computer what file we need to check in order to get the content. In our case it would be, let's say, image/player.png. And after that we can use the variable image in any way we want in order to display it. So this right there will not display anything, it will only load the image in the memory. So now in order to display an image, there's this comment. So there's the context. We need a Canva with the context. We already have it right there, so that's good. And then it's the function draw image. Then you specify the image you want to draw, so the variable that holds the source, so image in our case. And then you need to specify the position. So this is the X and this is the Y. So for example, 0, 0. There we go. So what we are going to do now is to load all the image that we will need for our game. So right now obviously we cannot simply call the player image, otherwise it will be kind of hard to track stuff. So we could call it image_player, but what I will do for this project is create an object, an empty object called image that will contain all the image that we will need. So the property player of the image object will be equal to the new image, and then we will specify the source, something like that. Okay, so this right there is the list of all the image that we will need. Now let's work on the step 2, actually using those images in order to draw the image. So that's the function we will need to use right there. So if you remember correctly, in our entity file, in the entity section right here, we got a function called draw, and what it does is that it checks the color property of our entity, and it draws a rectangle for it. So now what we will want to do is to actually draw an image. So self.image. So self.image is not defined right now. We will need to define right there. So we'll no longer need the color. We will probably not need, oh, this is actually the position, that's important. We don't want to draw it always at position 0, 0. So the X will be equal to that, the Y will be equal to this. There we go. And then we will simply draw X and draw Y. So the color, we no longer need it, instead we need the image. So everywhere where I specify a color, instead I will specify a image. So that's what I will do everywhere in the code. So for example, in our player right there, I specify the color green. So instead it will be the image.player, if you remember correctly. Now if we go back here, color, this will be image. Red will become image.enemy. Image. Okay, right here, image. This will be upgrade 1, upgrade 2, bullet. And I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so this is how the game looks now with the image. So it works, but obviously there's quite a lot of problems. The main one is that the image size is not correct. We are just assuming that the size of the image is good while it's not. So we'll need to resize that. I will teach you how to do that in the next video. Another thing we are going to do in the next video is adding a map image behind it, because right now everything is white. It's kind of bad. So we'll also fix that. So I hope you like this little video, and you can click the annotation on the screen to go check out the next episode. Thanks a lot for watching, and see ya!